You guys asked for it, and here it is. 1972, Peace with Honor. Hey guys, we are back yet again with the new campaign trail, and I've been requested this certain mod on this game quite a bit. So I thought, like, hey, let's do it. So it's going to be 1972, and we're going to be playing as Richard Nixon. From what I've heard of this mod, apparently it's like pretty complex mod. Apparently there's a lot of different endings. But with the 1972 election, you should know that it's an absolute blowout of an election. Richard Nixon wins every state except for Massachusetts. And I have a feeling that we're going to, ease into re-election. But anyway, let's read the synopsis. As Richard Nixon takes command, he is peering over the edge of an abyss. With the war in Vietnam dragging on, rising inflation, and anarchy in the streets, it appears the United States is entering a period of terminal decline. President Nixon believes he is the only man who can keep the United States as the world's foremost superpower, and he needs a full 8 years to do it. Horrified at what is perceived as the moral decay of the nation, every decision Nixon has made is geared towards ensuring his re-election. To gain a second term, Nixon must bring the Vietnam War to an honorable end and make the type of bold decisions which will enshrine him as one of the great men of history, now more than ever. Well, we know in real life that he didn't exactly do that. Richard Nixon is not really beloved among, former presidents. Richard Nixon, obviously is known for Watergate. So that really taints his legacy quite a bit. Continue. So we got Richard Nixon, and let's read what he has. Richard Nixon is not a man of the arena. He is an animal. He rips, tears, and mauls his enemies, and his enemies are everywhere. They are the Franklins, the pinstripe New Dealer queers, the Kennedys, the left-wing columnists, the liberals. They always kick him down, but he always claws back. As a new Nixon, just for one more opportunity to shred them limb from limb. Voris, Hiss, Checkers, Ike's heart attack, the Latin mobs, the goddamn Kennedy, the Hughes loan, the Dragon Lady. Richard has overcome them all, and he'll beat them again. Since Whittier, Richard has known humiliation, channeling into rage against his enemies, fueled by middle-class white Americans, the non-shouters, the non-demonstrators, the silent majority. Yeah, that's a big thing about the 1972 election is the silent majority basically gives Nixon the win. Of course, McGovern wasn't very popular, but you got all these hippies out in the street, and then you got, the woman who's like, looking outside her window, seeing this all happen. She's like, I'm going to vote Republican this year. Anyway, Richard clawed to the top of the heap in 1968, eking out pitiful winning margin of 0.7%. Now, in his last campaign, Richard must win in a landslide, making the 1972 election a referendum on the shouters, the demonstrators, the enemy. Oh my goodness. We're making this really intense. We're going to win 49 states. I sure hope. And we got Spiro Agnew. So, if the silent majority has a mouth, it's Spiro Agnew. Always shrieking from a podium about F it, liberal snobs. Agnew excites the Republican Party faithful like no other. There's nothing behind his words. But Agnew is an intensely polarizing figure, fueling the divisions, tearing the country apart. For Richard Nixon, that's all fine, as long as Agnew gets the base out to support their president. Agnew has little else to offer, making his grandstanding far more important than it should be. Notoriously corrupt, the former Maryland governor's closet is stuffed to the brim with skeletons. His uneasy relationship with the president threatens to spill over into the campaign. And if Agnew is taken off his leash, Nixon will not hesitate to kick him to the curb. That's not the most positive bio. Can we select another running mate? No, we can't. Okay. No Rockefeller, no Ford, no Dole. All right. Let's do this. Okay. I've never done one of these from the perspective of a winning candidate, so this is going to be pretty interesting. After the abrupt end of the Paris peace talks in late 1968, negotiations to end the war in Vietnam are at a standstill. Signs indicate that the North Vietnamese declaration led by Le Duc Thao, I'm trying to learn Vietnamese, so excuse my terrible pronunciations, I'm only 3 days into it, anyway, is demanding the removal of President Nguyen Van Thieu of South Vietnam. But this has been the brightest of red lines for South Vietnam and a non-starter for a peace deal. Should the U.S. plow ahead on negotiating track anyway? Or should we force the Vietnamese to the table another way? Okay, so what should we do? Keep the lines open, but no hanky-panky. Put out a statement about how the United States has not persevered all this way just to reverse course. Christ, just put it this way. We cannot purchase peace or honor or redeem its sacrifices at the price of deserting a brave ally. That's good. Mention the POW thing too. It's purely a delay in action. Those POW wives will endorse the damn thing immediately. Interesting. We need to knock out blow, goddammit. We've been fighting with our hands tied behind our backs, target the north directly, use B-52s, mine the harbors, launch a massive ground incursions across the border. Hell, maybe the nuclear bomb. I just want to think big. I think the second option sounds a little better. Okay, with no dramatic escalation on your end, the war will grind on for years until somebody makes some massive concessions. Meanwhile, the POW wives are proving to be a bit of an Achilles heel for your administration itself. If the war is still raging by 72, there may be hell to pay. Okay. North Vietnam isn't backing down, and 500,000 U.S. troops are still in Vietnam. Defense Secretary Mel Laird has proposed a new policy of Vietnamization, which calls for the gradual withdrawal of U.S. troops while handing the war over to the Vietnamese. But the Joint Chiefs believe the only way to win is with a massive troop surge. Which do you support? Well, yeah, because Nixon eventually he let the South Vietnamese take control of the war, and of course we all know what happened after that. The North Vietnamese, kind of ran them over. So that's what Nixon went with, and obviously he coasted into re-election. So we should probably go with this Vietnamization idea. So Laird's got the right idea. 150,000 troops should come home by the end of the year and gradually withdraw all of them on a schedule over the next couple of years. Get the South Vietnamese strong enough to fight this war themselves. I'm going to go with what Nixon actually went with, but let's read the other options. We can't win this war by tying our generals' hands behind their backs. If they need 1 million men, give them 1 million. Nah. You got to keep in mind that, you got people in the streets, and, the Vietnam War is pretty unpopular at this time, so we can go with a more extreme plan, saying, his plan doesn't go far enough, get 300,000 troops home in the next 9 months. No. I mean, if it's McGovern, who we're probably going to go up against, he's going to just, try to pull everybody out at the same time. Or don't rock the boat. So we're going to go with what probably they actually went with. Continue. There's strong skepticism over your plan. Is this just a way to prevent a communist takeover before the election, or to effectively prolong the war forever? Regardless, the anti-war fervor may quell, and the public is satisfied that you're bringing peace with honor. Interesting. Okay, this is interesting. We got Nixon, we got the enemy, and we got nuts and cooks. Okay, so obviously I have a feeling that nuts and kooks is George Wallace, because George Wallace did try to run the 1972 election. Have no idea who, quote unquote, the enemy is, because McGovern wouldn't be doing well in Texas, so maybe that's Humphrey, which is kind of odd for the 1972 election, because, got McGovern, so maybe eventually McGovern will be the enemy, but I guess they don't matter a whole lot. So what's our electoral vote? So right now we're pretty much almost winning in a landslide. So things are looking pretty good, but I think I'm not really going to try to get the solid South, but maybe we can get Texas. So we'll go to Texas. Why not? China has long been a pariah in geopolitics, and American policy towards the most populous country in the world has been marked by confrontation and a refusal to engage. More recently, Peking relations with Moscow and Hanoi have turned sour. This could represent an opening to set the tone for your administration's diplomacy. If the U.S. pursues a rapprochement with China, it would definitively end one of North Vietnam's biggest military pipelines and open a new era in international relations. Would you support such an opening? Okay, so we got, good God, no. If we bow down before Red China, it's another Munich. I'm no goddamn Chamberlain. That's kind of funny. But I think probably the second option. Look, I'm supposed to be the number one red baiter in the country. If we just continue the policy of non-communication with the Chinese that we've had for 20 years, I mean, if it could be nuclear war. We've got to get along with them. Yeah. So Nixon, if you guys don't know, is the president who kind of normalized relations with China. Now, obviously, relations with China have always been a little flaky, and they're always saying like, oh, America and China could go to war someday. Most likely, it probably wouldn't happen because they're so important to each other in terms of trade. But then again, if something ever happens with, Taiwan, which is actually known as the Republic of China, I know Joe Biden said that he would, immediately defend Taiwan, but is that actually going to happen? I bet money that the U.S. probably won't go to war with China. It would just be too detrimental for the world economy, and they both know that. Kissinger begins making plans that slip into China next year, setting the stage for a visit of your own in 72. If you pull this off, it would be the greatest breakthrough in foreign affairs of a generation and would completely blindside your enemies. Henry Kissinger is a very, very controversial figure in Southeast Asia. You should really look him up. It's April 1970. And since you authorized secret carpet bombing of the Ho Chi Minh Trail along the Cambodian border last year, the Viet Cong has gone deeper into Cambodian territory, threatening the American-backed leader Lon Nol. With B-52s unable to go further without revealing the covert bombing, what actions will you authorize towards the small country? All right, so we can end the bombing and withdraw any overt military support, go for broke, order a full American invasion of Cambodia. No, we're not going to do that. Or give some military aid to Lon Nol and just continue to our covert bombing runs. But don't send any troops in. I mean, either one or three are going to be good. I tell you that Cambodia bombing is the only way we can get away with. Or we need to get out. I kind of want to be a little bit of a moderate on this. Obviously, I want to ease presence in Southeast Asia. So, we're, one or three. I'm just going to go with my gut. We're going to go with number one. That should help us out. You've earned William Fulbright's praise, but the Pentagon top brass is alarmed. At a meeting with Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Creighton Abrams bluntly declares You've just handed Cambodia over to the communists. They won't take this lying down. Oh, that may have hurt a little bit. How are we looking? Yeah, that hurt us. Ooh. All right, how about we go to... We're within striking distance of New York, so the last thing I want to do is bungle this campaign. As president, you have authorized numerous dirty tricks straight out of the White House, like wiretapping and break-ins. Much of this... Oh, we got to deflect this. Much of this stemmed from your paranoia over leaks of the secret bombing of Cambodia. Among those targeted by the White House plumbers have been Daniel Ellsberg, leaker of the Pentagon Papers, and his psychiatrist. With the Democratic primaries fast approaching, do you want to direct a campaign of... We're not going to say that because I want to start making money off of this YouTube channel, so excuse the non-swearing. To sabotage the stronger candidates in the field. Okay, so seems like the Democratic primary hasn't happened yet, so I think eventually McGovern will come in and then it will be basically a cakewalk. So, no, we're way up. I don't give a damn whether I face some numb fool like Muskie in November. There's bigger thing to focus on. All those men are ex-CIA anyway. They should be going for bigger fish. Christ, yes. We got to get Muskie, Humphrey, Kennedy, out on a limb of these critical issues. Send mailings out in New Hampshire to confuse everybody. Put some letters saying they've been written by Muskie, things like that. Wow. Well, I don't think either of these are really... I mean, I think both of these are going to hurt, but then again, 1972, it didn't really affect Nixon's reelection. So... we'll go with the first option. With a campaign of sabotage out of the question, several formidable Democratic frontrunners rise to the top. Meanwhile, Attorney General John Mitchell has expanded the dirty tricks to foreign policy, authorizing breaking into the Chilean embassy in D.C. Interesting. Actions taken by left-wing radicals like the Weather Underground have left the intelligence community scrambling. White House aide Charles Huston has drafted a plan which would authorize burglaries, wiretaps, mail opening, and detention camps for descendants. The directors of the CIA, FBI, DIA, and NSA have all indicated their support. The only holdout is the legendary FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover. Should we go forward with this plan? Wow. We got some really, really tough questions on this one. Oh my God. Let's see. Damn it, do it now. I'll see Hoover personally and convince him. We can't tolerate this goddamn anarchy anymore. Good God, no. We've got enough problems already. I'll try to talk some sense into Hoover, but if he stays firm, we can drop the whole thing. Wow. Either 1 or 3 are going to be good. Go with number 1. Should be good. Earl Leichman's nervous laughter signals his approval, and Hoover ultimately relents. With these tools, the Weather Underground is about to reap the whirlwind, as will any peaceful dissenting voice. Chuck Colson can hardly contain his glee at this new police state. Ugh. Saying police state kind of hurts. And okay, so we're still doing good, but yeah, I mean, my answers have not been the best. Oh, man. Okay, yeah, we definitely don't want to have oh, man, that hurt. Okay, so that was definitely not the right answer. So where else can we go? Like all these other states I'm pretty far ahead in, and then the enemy is pretty far ahead in all these states. We'll just keep going to New York. 41 electoral votes, so it's pretty good. Another casualty of the Vietnam War has been the American economy. Enormous budget deficits and the Federal Reserve's policies have contributed to rising inflation, with the rate for 1971 now at 5.75%. At a meeting in Camp David, the ball is in your court. While being mindful of the low unemployment rate, what actions will you take to curb the growing inflation crisis? Okay, this is definitely going to be an important thing. Congress passed the whole wage and price thing, didn't they? Tell Connolly to use it. Get Connolly to squeeze him. We'll force his hand. Don't care what the economists think. What you have to do is win over the public. Okay. Got some very, very blunt answers. Wow. Yeah, this really taps on just like how stressful being the president actually is. Wow. Third one I don't really like. If you guys don't know, I'm pretty sure they're referring to the governor of Texas, Connolly. I think that's who they're talking about. So let me check real quick. Oh yeah, so Connolly, he was also Secretary of the Treasury. Okay, so yeah, we'll go with the first option on this one. Nobody knows if this is going to work. The actual effects are unimportant. What matters is that at least appears that you're doing something. And in politics, appearance is everything. Polls indicate that the American people strongly support your decision. Yes! There we go. Now we're going to get some wins. As part of the Bretton Woods Agreement, the US dollar is pegged to gold, and other currencies have a fixed exchange rate to the dollar. However, the Fed's policy has recently been to print excessive amounts of money due to the Vietnam War and Johnson's Great Society. This has overvalued the dollar, making imports cheap and exports expensive. Now there is a real risk of depleting American gold reserves, and drastic action is called for. Are you willing to end the Bretton Woods system? Oh, goodness. Yes, I will direct the Treasury Secretary Connolly to suspend convertibility of the dollar into gold. The time has come for exchange rates to be set straight and for major nations to compete as equals. Wow. Got some big questions. No, closing the gold window would compound our crises, not solve them. Floating currencies are unstable, and this would surely spur on even worse inflationary periods down the line. Wow, okay. This is a big one. Okay, which one do we go with? I want to go with the first one. We'll see how this goes. After several sleepless nights, your primetime Oval Office speech makes waves by making these bold actions which shock the system. You're putting on the appearance of taking extraordinary measures, even if nobody knows what the effects will really be. So I don't think that's really going to hurt us. Oh, yes, look at this. We got New York, we got Pennsylvania. Okay, so that has definitely helped us. Pretty good, 423. I like that. We might even be able to take Arkansas. Let's take a trip to Arkansas. So actually, let's state summary. So we've got anti-war, economics, busing, law and order, and federal programs. Slash them. Slash everything. Slash Medicare. Okay, let's do this. Arkansas, why not? Conservatives argue that another factor contributing to the poor economy is the environmental movement. Oh. Okay. Pollution control has been a growing issue, and you face pressure to pick up where Johnson left off on that front, while being mindful of economic concerns. Where do you fall on the environment? So Nixon is the one who started the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. A pretty good achievement of his administration. So I kind of want to lean into that. I'm not opposed to passing the Clean Water Act. Oh yeah, Mr. Walter Mondale helped out quite a bit with that bill. And I'll evaluate further legislation individually. But I think the last thing our environment needs is another agency for bureaucrats to supersede state authority. I would rather leave this to state authorities. This has been a bureaucratic crisis for now. Let's streamline it all by creating the Environmental Protection Agency, which will be under the White House control. But I draw the line at the proposed Clean Water Act, which would undermine state authority and throttle industry. That act was signed, so I think we kind of want to sign that. We want to repeat the things that Nixon did. Protecting the environment for our children and grandchildren is a vital task which we have all been given. I will create the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, sign the Clean Water Act, and support any further anti-pollution legislation which gets to my desk. I love that response. That's a great response. Our existing federal programs will combat pollution are doing their job, so that's just keeping things the same. So yeah, definitely the third option. Another big swing, casting yourself as environmentalist in chief certainly outflanks the liberals on this issue, but you may have leaned a bit too far. Conservatives decry what they see as another left turn for your administration, but you haven't lost them so far. I don't really think there's going to be much I could do to really lose them. As another school year is starting, the integration of African American students is a high priority across state and local governments. This has resulted in some highly unpopular programs like cross-district busing. So if you didn't know, the way it's framed, it sounds like, oh, forced busing. You put like African American children with white children. That's not what forced busing was. It's more so you're forcing people to go to schools that are far away from them just to kind of, integrate and mix, which people really, really didn't like. Anyway, so which is intended to achieve racial balance, but it has been strongly opposed by nearly all quadrants. How do you wish to pursue desegregation? So obviously we're going to be, against segregation. We got to be. But we're going to be like, forced busing goes a little bit too far. So let's see what we got. I certainly don't advocate for the return days of Jim Crow, but I think a more constructionist judicial understanding of these laws is necessary. I oppose busing, and the Justice Department will review rulings on segregation on a case-by-case basis. Okay. We're going to enforce a law, and that means continuing to uphold the rulings which will end legal segregation. However, we're not going to campaign on these decisions at all, and I will loudly oppose forced busing, which is too detrimental to our core values as legal segregation. Wow. Uphold rulings ending segregation in schools. Let's support busing too. Okay, we don't want to do that. That's going to really hurt us. I firmly support overturning these disgraceful forced race mixing laws. Okay, that goes a little bit too far. So I would say one or two are good options. So but then again, how do these states feel about this? So, we don't really have a thing for like social politics in this. So I think, we're gonna be against forced busing. Trying to have it both ways on this issue of segregation hardly qualifies you for any profiles and courage, but it's a politically savvy move. All right, that's pretty good. By not rocking the boat with Southern whites, you keep those voters in line, and you don't look like an unabashed racist either. We got our, another thing. Oh my God! Wow. Pretty good. So I think at this point, Wallace has dropped out, so we're going to get all of that solid South. Yes! Looking good. And I think this still assumes that Humphrey or Muskie is going to be the nominee. It's probably going to be McGovern, so things are going to seize up pretty soon. Another thing that Richard Nixon is known for is the Southern strategy. With Barry Goldwater in 1964, he got all, that white Southern support, so the Republican Party is like, Democrats are giving up on this demographic. We should get them. So they're going to say things that, aren't racist, but something that a racist person would like. And there's rumors or people say that the Republicans still do this to this day. Anyway, let's look at our electoral vote. 493. I mean, how can we bungle this? We got West Virginia. We got Minnesota. No way we're getting Massachusetts or Rhode Island at this point. Maine is in play, but let's not get too cocky. Let's go to West Virginia. Why not? Oh, no. But you got to keep... Okay, anyway, let's read the question first. Drug use is becoming a full-blown epidemic in American society. Over the past decade, the number of addicts has surged, which some in your administration believe is fueling the increase in crime across major cities. A particularly sensitive spot is in Vietnam, where American troops are getting addicted to heroin. What steps will you take to tackle this crisis? Okay, so of course, we all know what really defines Nixon's legacy is the war on drugs. Nixon is the one who started the war on drugs. We have to keep in mind, though, that 70s, 80s, and 90s, American society is against drugs. Okay? So I don't want to really, go too far from what Nixon actually did because, you want people to feel safe. You don't want, these drug-using hippies, wreaking havoc around our cities. So drugs are menacing our society. They're killing children. I submit to Congress a set of proposals which will institute mandatory minimum penalties for drug criminals and ensure law and order. Beyond that, I will conduct a major television campaign with Pat, who will urge our nation's children to just say no to drug use. Probably that's going to be the best answer, but anyways, let's read the other ones. At home from a nonpartisan commission to come up with a list of proposals to combat the threat of legal drugs in our communities. With our armed forces, however, I'm giving the military free rein. Addiction is deteriorating our troops' morale, and it must be stopped. Okay. I have formed the Schaefer Commission to analyze this problem before leaping into any sudden conclusions. And its recommendations to discourage drug use are ones we must implement. I will legalize marijuana. Oh, no. We're not doing that. Public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive. I'm directing Congress to provide renewed funds for treatment and rehabilitation efforts and to deal with the supply. I mean, 4 is also a pretty good response, but we're going to go with number 1. We're just going to be a hard line against drugs. Perhaps historians in years to come will say that you were ahead of your time, but the bottom line is that this militant approach is wholly out of step with the moment. Congress doesn't pass your hardline bills, and Pat and Nixon's TV ads become fodder for jokes from Johnny Carson. I hope this didn't hurt me. Supreme Court Justices Hugo Black and Thomas Marshall Harlan have both retired, and you now have 2 vacancies to fill. The first nomination is Lewis Powell, a corporate lawyer who got through Congress with no sweat. Now you can afford to be a little rougher with the second vacancy, while being mindful of your past defeats for nominees earlier in your administration. Who would you like to choose? Okay. Caspar Weinberger over at the OMB, the way he's reshaped the entire department shows the kind of bright conservative he is. Got Senator Howard Baker. I've been impressed by him, and he's not the type to rock the boat. He's reliable. William Rehnquist over at the Justice Department. He's young and conservative. What more could you want? Shirley Hutzstadler from Court of Appeals. She can really win those feminists over. The liberals make fools of themselves going after her. Okay, so we're not going to go with her. Kind of like the sound of Howard Baker. But we already kind of went a little... We didn't rock the boat with our first choice, so... Yeah, we're going to go for a young conservative. Why not? Christ, he's further right than Buchanan. The liberals in Congress throw up roadblocks to slow his nomination, but they end up confirming him in the end. This is a good way to shore up your conservative credentials, at least. Okay, so we're still looking very, very good. 45. They're down to 45 electoral votes. I guess when are they going to say that it was McGovern? Okay, so what other states are we close to getting? We'll go to Pennsylvania. That one's pretty close. Throughout your term, Vice President Spiro Agnew has endeared himself to conservatives, while also becoming a bit of a thorn in your side. Agnew's closet is full of skeletons from his days in Maryland all the way to the White House, acting as a ticking time bomb for your administration, if not quickly addressed. Ideally, he would resign, but you're going to have to squeeze a bit more and leak some of those corruption scandals if you want him to go. Are you willing to cut Agnew loose? Drop the bastard. No, that would not be a good idea. We're gonna keep him. Man, all these Nelson Rockefeller would be great. But we got John Connolly and Ronald Reagan. These are all very, very strong names. But history has shown that if you had to replace your running mate, which McGovern had to do, it really, really doesn't look good. So we're going to keep Agnew on the ticket. This may be the best as far as your re-election bid is concerned, but Agnew taking bribes in the White House is so egregious. It's bound to leak out eventually. Just pray you can make it to election day without him embarrassing the whole administration. After years of secret negotiations, you have at least reached an agreement with the People's Republic of China and are ready to normalize relations. This has stunned the world, and there are hopes that you can actually visit the PRC with an official American delegation. It would be great for television, and you would be the first president to visit the country. I can't think of anything more important. Let all the television cameras in. Let's visit early next year. Let's do this. Let's go. Your whirlwind tour is an astonishing success. A surreal meeting with Chairman Mao Zedong and dining with Premier Zhou Enlai. And walking the Great Wall, all play spectacularly to the public. You've charted a new chapter in history, and the PRC is eager to keep up this relationship. Oh my God, we're just owning it right now. Look at this. We're doing so good. Go to Maine. Let's do this. 50-state sweep. That's what I want. Well, 49 states. There's no way we're getting Massachusetts. More chaos and more violence. At a rally in Maryland, George Wallace has been shot by an unknown assailant. Wallace will recover, and the shooter is in custody. Meanwhile, White House aide Charles Colson has presented you with a stream of ideas about dirty tricks targeted against the enemy, including one about this gunman. Which do you want to authorize? Okay. Kidnap Martha Mitchell. John is practically out of his mind with his wife gossiping to the press all the time. No. Get rid of Jack Anderson. Get a hold of him and just, damn it, I want to hang him. Wow, you can firebomb the Brookings Institution? What? Or put the shootings on the left away. Keep the heat on them. Don't let us make the mistake that was made of the Kennedy thing. Yeah, we'll just go with the last option. These other ones I really don't like. Colson takes action, sending CIA agent Howard Hunt to the apartment of the shooter, Arthur Bremer, to plant Democratic flyers around. Unfortunately, Hunt can't find any Kennedy material and ends up dumping a surplus of McCarthy pins from 1968 on the apartment floor. A bizarre story in Washington today. 5 burglars have been arrested at the offices of the Democratic National Committee in the Watergate Hotel. Oh, God. Some of them have ties to the committee to re-elect the president, and Howard Hunt's name has been found in their address books. A lot of burglars were part of the old plumbers unit here, and the FBI is on their trail. Your back is against the wall, and you're running out of options. Oh no. This could be bad. Christ, get the CIA to tell the FBI to call off the whole thing. Say it's a CIA operation. Bob, you can do that. Go see Richard Helms and say that this will be open up the whole Bay of Pigs thing. Don't lie them to the extent that there's no involvement. Or we're tired of these games. They've gone too far. Wow, this could cook us, actually. Let's see. Tell the whole truth. Admit that we're not going to tell the truth. We're just going to, sweep this under the rug. Hunt's been in the CIA for decades, and he's been involved in all sorts of covert operations. So John Dean's idea to hold over Helm's head, to shut down the FBI investigation of the break-in may just work. It's not clear what you mean by the Bay of Pigs thing, though. Okay, good. After a strong showing in the New Hampshire primaries, Maine Senator Ed Muskie has won his party's presidential nomination at the Democratic Convention in Miami. That's interesting. Muskie, not McGovern? Oh, this might be a little bit harder, but we only got 8 questions to go. Muskie has an anti-war platform that carries weight as the quagmire in Vietnam keeps going. And he's poised to be a formidable opponent this fall. How do you want to address Muskie while campaigning? Okay, so I don't want a repeat of Kennedy 12 years ago. We really need to go out against Muskie. I want to research into his private life, what sets this guy off. Don't be afraid of getting your hands dirty. Listen, Ed Muskie is a bland candidate. We don't have an opening here. So let's just stick to the issues. I mean, we could say he's boring. Ed Muskie doesn't represent the working man of this country. He's a lofty elitist who spends his time at Ivy League universities. Or Muskie may have been a sensible politician once, but have you seen his platform now? What the Democrats in Miami have put out looks like it could have come straight from the mouths of SDS. Okay, so realistically, I think the second option is going to be good. We'll just, kind of ignore him. This is a wise move. Muskie's pretty boring, and it would backfire badly to have a harsh attacking campaign over someone like that. Instead, by focusing on your economic record and proposals for welfare reform in your next term, you probably hold the upper hand, so we should still be doing pretty good. The Republican convention in Miami is disrupted by small bombings in the city. Few are hurt, but there is a state of siege inside the convention hall. The FBI quickly arrests several subversives who they claim are responsible. The case is thin, but you are easily renominated anyway. As you step up to the podium amidst the confusion, what speech will you deliver? Well, we need to make a very, very positive speech. I will ignore the commotion outside and talk about our accomplishments with the economy. My decisions have been bold, and they have produced results. Inflation is down, productivity is up, and we have lessened the burdens on Americans' pocketbooks. I do like that one. I will address the bombings. Let's keep it positive, okay? Let's keep everything really positive. All these other ones are pretty negative. Once the bombing case goes to trial, a web of young federal informants are discovered and the case falls apart, embarrassing the Bureau. Meanwhile, your speech isn't well received, but by avoiding the mess outside, you've avoided most of the damage. Okay. Well, the map is looking pretty good for us. Electoral vote, 464 to 74. He's only winning New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So we could go to New York, but I really don't think it's worth it. We could get Connecticut, but yeah, we'll go to Connecticut. Why not? Let's just try to sweep this guy. And he also has Hawaii. After the bombing halt in Cambodia 2 years ago, the communist Khmer Rouge, I know that's not how you say it. I forget how to say that. Sorry, guys. Insurgents have aligned momentum and are now at the point where they threaten the survival of Lon Nol's embattled government. Cambodia falling would be a disaster for the war at large, and the Khmer Rouge have been receiving aid from North Vietnam. How do you want to deal with them? We can pit them against North Vietnam. I don't know about that. Resume bombing Cambodia. We can get Lon Nol out of there or invade Cambodia. Oh, none of this is good. I mean, we could resume bombing. Yeah, we'll keep it limited to on an air war, but go public this time. Yeah, this is a difficult one. We'll just resume bombing. I think this is the best option. Carbon bombing a country isn't a light switch. It's not just something you can easily flip on and off. Congress rushes to impose restrictions. War-weary Americans take to the streets in outrage, and Lon Nol thinks you aren't doing enough. How are we looking? Oh, don't tell me that just hurt me tremendously. Former White House aides Howard Hunt and Gordon Liddy have been indicted for their role in Watergate burglary in June, just yesterday. The Washington Post published a story by reporters Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward claiming that Hunt was ordered by the White House to frame the left for the Wallace shooting. These are very serious charges. How will you respond? Yeah, we're just gonna deny this all the way. We can attack. We can just get him silent, or we can just deny it. I think we're just gonna deny it. That's probably the best thing we can do. An incredulous press corps cannot believe White House Press Secretary Ron Ziegler's attempt to whitewash and deny the Hunt story. This report seriously threatens to break through the campaign season noise and undermine your re-election bid. Oh, God. I mean, we're still winning, though, so that definitely hurt us. So we cannot afford to make any more mistakes. We can go to Minnesota. I mean, New Jersey's also in play. We can embarrass him and get Maine. Let's go to Minnesota. We're within 3 points. Regardless of how the Watergate drama will play out, for now, you have a country to govern. A growing issue is the matter of health care. The proposed Kennedy-Griffin's bill in Congress would create a universal national healthcare system, but has been stalled in committee. You indicated interest in healthcare reform last year, so is this something that you will pursue? Okay. The Social Security amendments I will sign contain such much needed healthcare reform. They extend Medicare coverage to anyone under 65 who have been severely disabled for over 2 years. There are common sense proposals which will do good and cost pennies. I do like that one. So let's read these other ones. I will introduce a comprehensive healthcare reform plan of my own. My plan will require that all employers offer insurance for full-time employees and will expand coverage to the poor. It will ensure doctors are incentivized to work for their patient, not for the government or insurance companies. That's also really good. I will sign the Kennedy-Griffin's bill. Healthcare remains the great unfinished business of our society. Let us insist on real control over what doctors and hospitals can charge. And let us resolve that the state of a family's health shall never depend on the size of a family's wealth. If health insurance is good enough for the president, then it's good enough for you and every family in America. Okay. What's worth focusing on is how Senator Kennedy's bill would create a system of socialized medicine and cost billions in taxpayer dollars. I cannot think of something more ill-timed when we have so much to get inflation under control. I kind of like one or two. One is the more safe option, though. So we're going to go with the safe option right here. Conservatives grumble over your quip on the actual cost, but these Social Security amendments are near unanimously supported, so signing them is an obvious move. The only issue is that healthcare reform there is meager, so don't expect the pressure to let up. Earlier this year, a proposed constitutional amendment called the Equal Rights Amendment was passed with wide bipartisan margins in the House and later the Senate. The amendment reads, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any other state on account of sex. Do you support the ERA? Oh. Yeah, I know that the ERA is kind of a controversial piece of legislation. There's no real debate. I look forward to seeing it ratified in the States shortly, or I think we're going to go in favor of it. We'll just say, like, we look forward to having it. We're not going to be too, like, hardline on this. I mean, this is definitely going to hurt us with conservatives, but with our liberal support, it will definitely help us out. So let's do this. This should help. The ERA is virtually unanimous approval and seems to be destined to be ratified within the year. Your personal endorsement won't move the needle here one way or the other. Okay, but we're still looking very good. So I don't think there's really any way we're going to really bungle this, but we'll try and take a couple states off of Muskie. So try and get Maine. One of the only domestic policies which has moved you has been the welfare reform. Both parties agree that the current system is a mess, but your failure to get your family assistance plan through Congress has shelved the issue. The FAP created a negative income tax, but Democrats thought the income floor was too high. How would you like to handle welfare now? The family assistance plan is sound, and the only issue is the clowns in Congress. We won't get any bipartisan approval, so let's try to mobilize real opposition to the inexcusable current system. Just forget it, we failed on the welfare program. Okay, I don't like that. Let's launch a new campaign. What? Okay, so one or two. Let's see. Tell Republicans candidates down ballot to make this their crucial point. If we get enough votes for this workfare plan, we will eliminate bureaucratic waste and help millions of people get assistance they actually need. But how do these states feel in the economy? Strong labor. Well, yeah, I think we'll go with that. Republicans running for Congress are buoyed by your renewed involvement in the campaign, although some moderate Democrats begin charging that your new plan would actually add millions to the welfare rolls, and it wouldn't get rid of any federal waste. Okay? With only days to go before voters head to the polls, an enormous breakthrough in negotiations to end the Vietnam War has just been reached, with Le Duc Tho and Nguyen Van Thieu's final, albeit reluctant approval. Kissinger has had enough confidence to declare that peace is at hand. In a nationally televised press conference, it looks like your gambit has paid off. Good. This has been the longest and most difficult war in American history. Honest and patriotic Americans have disagreed as to whether we should have become involved at all. And there has been a disagreement on the conduct of the war. The agreement we have now reached is one which we can all agree. Let us unite now. Unite in peace. A peace that is fair to both sides. A peace that can last. That's going to help us. Peaceniks will insist that the agreement is identical to the one on in 1969, which you rejected. But real Americans, the silent majority, know that you have brought a lasting peace. Newsweek's cover reads, "Goodbye, Vietnam," as it finally appears that this calamity is near its end. And yes, this helped us quite a bit. So we got one more question. Where do we want to finish this off? I think I want to finish this off in Maine. Let's see if we can win Muskie's home state. With your final campaign in its last days, which region do you want to campaign in most heavily? We can do the East Coast. Yeah, why not? Let's do the East Coast. East Coast, let's do this. Well, we're going to probably win. So after a final rally on Long Island, the motorcade carries you to the airport inside the presidential limo. You look behind at the city, expecting to see great light and life. Instead, you see nothing but smog. The city feels empty. Even the air has had enough. Interesting, okay. Election night has arrived. Settle in and wait for the returns. However long it may take, best of luck. Well, we definitely won. And we got Schmitz here, was also the American Independent this time. So yeah, we're going to win. It's going to be a landslide. Absolute unmitigated landslide. I don't think it's going to be like, maybe we'll get 40 states. That'll be pretty good. We got Vermont, pretty good. So he's got Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I think New York definitely would be a stretch, but if I can like knock away like Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania, I'll be pretty happy with that. Oh, he's got Connecticut. I mean, but once California comes in, we got this. Yeah, we got this in the bag. Never a doubt. Oh, man, he's got Pennsylvania. Congratulations, you won this year's election. Click OK to view the rest of the returns. So let's see how this is going to end up. Maybe I don't think I'm going to get Hawaii either. But if I can get Maryland, okay. I didn't get any of those states. I should win Minnesota. Come on. Win Minnesota. Oh, man. Yeah, but still a pretty sizable landslide, about 10 points in the popular vote, so pretty good. These last states, a lot of tensions riding on this. Oh, we got big California, we got Oregon, pretty good. I want all these states. Oh, what? Oh, my God, he won Washington. How dare he win Washington? Just shy of 400 electoral votes, but, a pretty sizable victory. So we'll take that. Go to final results. All right, so we got a little thing right here. Let's read this. Hadelman, the Segretti thing. I think we've got to just let that hang. The Muskie letters? Yeah. Because if we start sharply attacking Segretti, incidentally, I thought that statement last week was a little too sharp. You do? Because if we start attacking him, oh, I know, the libs and the left-wingers will just totally fall in line to protect him. That's exactly right. They did it with Hiss. They did it with the Ellsberg thing. Ugh. And again, Jesus Christ. But I think if Ron can deny what Segretti is saying, not the specifics about how the letters said Muskie hated the Canadians and the Irish, and fine. But if Ron can just say the story and the post is fundamentally incorrect, that's good. Fine. Use that. The problem isn't what Segretti did in the primaries. You canceled those projects when Coulson brought them to you. That's right. Because it didn't make a bit of difference whether it was Muskie or McGovern, or some dumb fool like Lindsay. Yeah, I don't really care. They're all the same. But the attacks after the convention, Coulson went further than just feeding some stories to favorable reporters. I mean, no, I know Bob. But it's dirty business. Nobody comes out clean here. That's right. But as far as the public goes, I really don't think these stories are any worse than what some of these Democrats are already making them think. That's right. In fact, I would say it's a whole lot better. That's why we should just hang it out. Sure, fine. Get on that. The only wrinkle is that one unpublished letter Coulson showed me, he didn't run it, but he just showed it to me. What is it? Well, and remember, this was right before the convention, but Coulson showed me this letter. He forged it to make it look like this Democratic bigwig was filing it and accused Muskie of having a bastard child. Jesus Christ. Sleeping with all sorts of prostitutes, taking acid, and being homosexual. It was, well, the last part is true. you know. So I heard that you get special endings depending on what path you take in this mod, and pretty good. So let's check our results by state now. Let's see the closest state. That's always the most interesting. Closest state, Minnesota. I won it by 0.9. Pretty good. Maine. Oh yeah, I did win Maine. Embarrassed Muskie getting its home state. So overall, this mod is pretty good. You can definitely learn a lot about the presidency of Richard Nixon in this mod. At first, I was kind of skeptical going into this, thinking like, well, what's the point of, being Richard Nixon, because you're going to win an absolute landslide. But honestly, in terms of just learning things, it's pretty good. So I definitely recommend checking this out and maybe tell me what ending you get. Anyway, I really, really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. Next time, we're probably going to do like either 1936 or 2012. Those should also be pretty good. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and more videos coming soon.